Hey, it's Enrico Palazzo.
Utah, give me 2.
Palazzo.
Hey guys, my name is Sam Wirsching, and on this side of the screen, I've got Ben Chase, and down below, I've got Robbie Baseball.
Demoted.
And these two are the brains and the bronze for the Palazzo Prospect Power Hour. 2 L's, 2 C's. Give me 2.
Dude.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always in awe. I always say, wow, every time I see your beautiful faces on the screen. So, hey, Ben and Robbie, why don't you guys say hi to the people and let's get this going.
Hello, people.
Hi, people.
Hi, people. Exactly.
I'm trying to work on this light here. It seems extra bright. I'm sure people would say it's my normal dullness, but yeah, maybe I'll sort that out after we're done.
Yeah, fair enough. You guys have anything fun that happened for you guys this weekend that you want to share? Anything about your baseball drafts? I mean, we've got things are happening. People are doing things in our industry. So anything you guys want to share?
And not just pissing each other off. I mean, that's happening too, but not just pissing each other off.
A yearly tradition like no other. Fantasy baseball on Twitter in March.
Jesus.
Yeah, I've got one slow draft going now in a 20-team league. And fourth round, it goes 3 rounds of just prospects, so 60 prospects. I mentioned it last week. Kilby went really high in that one. He was like top 7 or something like that. I can't remember how high, but before I picked. Then we got into got into the 4th round when it opens up to everybody. And all of a sudden, every name you can imagine started coming off the board. I'm not quite sure what was going on with it, but I'm still scooping up first round guys in the 7th and 8th rounds here. And one player that we'll talk about tonight, I taken what I'm calling a flyer because he was one of the latest first round picks as far as FYPD ADP goes. So that's a lot of letters right there. But for anybody curious, one of the first year player draft, which is anybody drafted in 25 or possibly just left on the board from previous years. So I'm interested to talk about that young man tonight. And otherwise, I got my home league draft 2 weeks away in Tirana, and I'm excited to head into town for that. So, yeah, Sam is hydrated.
Absolutely.
Apparently, yesterday the boys got some comments about how they're the best hydrated pod in fantasy baseball, so that's an expectation now of all of us.
Hey, I'm part of that.
Which
we are.
I was just going to say,
counts, right? Alcohol's good for hydration, right, guys?
I was just going to say, Robbie and I just kind of mix alcohol into it too. That's all. So we're
beer. That's as close as you get to water for alcohol, man. Let's get some tequila or whiskey out on there. I'm ready.
I mean, if we want to really loosen the night here, we can.
I don't know if I can do Jägermeister because throughout college, whenever you had a bottle of Jägermeister, somebody would uncork it and then throw away the cap, and you literally had to finish the bottle in the room that you were with. So it was did you want to really do that to yourself? Drink a half a bottle of Jägermeister if there were only 2 people in the room, and if the room started with 10, and some don't like licorice, it's down to 4, you really had to. So we had awkward etiquette with that. So every time I see a bottle of Jaeger, I'm like, oh, can I do a half a bottle? I don't think anymore. I don't think that's me.
But see, if you chill it
chill.
Easier.
Well, I mean, you mix it with Red Bull, and it's a great time. It's a great time. All the way through the next day. It's just fun.
I love it. Maybe we should have a debate about at some point what are the best drinks to have when you're watching baseball or going through a draft.
That's a great idea. Those are for the dog days, Yeah. Oh man, Mike VA saying mix it with your beer. That's what tomato juice is for. Isn't that an American thing? Beer and tomato juice?
No, some people use clamato juice, clam tomato juice. People love that shit too. They love it. They will drink it in front of you.
I hear some people like IPAs.
Or putting green olives.
People are psychos,
I'd rather have an IPA than a Clamato.
I knew you were an IPA guy. God, I knew it. I knew it.
I don't drink beer. Again, it's a whole other podcast that we'd have to
dabble with a double IPA too, wouldn't you? You and that damn hat.
2 drinks: tequila, whiskey. Tequila.
I'm not talking about dancers' names. Let's talk about alcohol.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
So what about you, Ben? What about your drafts? How are your drafts going?
I just got a ding that somebody actually made a pick in one of mine. Have an FYPD that just started today. And then I'm in my TGFBI. We are in round 23. We are doing pretty well.
Oh, you guys are just cooking. We're only in like 18.
Yeah. I got DVR in ours, and we figured out that, on NFBC, you can set a queue for each round.
Yep.
Did not know that beforehand. It's made the auto drafts like flow for people who have to be in the office during the day. And so then our drafts just like during the day are just going brrr, and then we're about this time of night, it slows up because everyone's actually home. So they shut their auto draft off and it actually goes slower in the evenings, but it's really allowed our draft to kick through pretty quick. So,
oh no, having a round based queue is really nice. I don't necessarily like setting my queue too far out, but like 2 or 3 picks to go, like get your picks in there and have it done.
And this time of the draft, it's like, okay, I want a reliever this round. Set your reliever queue. I want a starter the next round. I specifically want to go for a young starter that's competing for a spot. Set that queue. And you could do that for 4 or 5 rounds ahead, and then you don't even have to think about it. You've got that all set, and whoever drafts ahead of you and pulls somebody out of your queue, great. You're still getting what you wanted for your bench and things like that. So
yeah, anyway. I don't know. I have a hard time trusting the value being there when I'm there. I want to see what's on the board because each board is different, and everybody, every board that's out there, always you look at somebody and you're like, what did they're 4 rounds, 5 rounds out. Like what? Yeah, they've got a little something, but it's not their arm if it's a pitcher, or it's not anything big if it's a bat. Like why take that value when it's there? So, but it's nice. It's nice when people are quick to draft. That's the whole point that Ben and I are. That please, when you're in your drafts, get them on. I'm in 6 right now. I'm in 3 on Fantrax and 3 on NFBC, and jeez. I literally was looking at my phone all weekend. It was.
Do you guys ever check your personal draft time on the clock? Like on Fantrax, you can check to see everybody's draft time.
Yes.
And for the first year in many years, I was not the fastest in 2 of my leagues, and in one of them, it got pointed out to me. And a bunch of people were like, because I'm a commissioner in the league, they're like, oh, Rob, you're horrible. You're really taking a step back. Your average time's 14 minutes. And usually it's like 5 seconds because I get within 3 or 4 picks. And I'm like, these 2 guys are the one, this is the one I want. Here's the next guy I'll take. And then I kind of just like keep an eye, like you were saying, you hear the little ding and I keep checking just to make sure, of course, nothing bad happens. But yeah, I found that in the one that I'm in with Govier, that's the one where they called me out on it. And we're like, what happened to you? You used to be the one who was like, hurry up, everybody. I'm like, yeah, I didn't have the auto draft on for whatever round it was, 2 or 3. And it ended up taking me almost an hour to pick. And I felt that shame, whereas other people love it. They love ruining people's nights by just being on the board for 3 hours.
Just point out that there was a problem with the exchange rate at the border, and actually
there you go.
The fastest drafter in the league.
I did. It did remind me though to set I've got my queue set up, and so it did remind me to hit auto draft for the next couple of picks because I'm up in like 6 picks and we'll be still talking. I'm almost certain. So
I don't know, man. I really want to watch that video, Ben. So,
so we're gonna be in a hurry, huh?
Yeah. So let's get into the news. Speaking of in a hurry,
well, hold on, real quick.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Hey, if you are new watching the channel, please subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating. We are here to educate and entertain. You have 2 of the sharpest and funnest people on the screen besides myself, so we would really appreciate that. And as always, if you got a problem with us, don't go to Yelp, don't go to anywhere else. Come to our DMs, email us. We're here for you.
Join the Discord, right? The Discord's a place for fun to be happening.
That's right. We're literally just here to spread joy and knowledge, and alcohol takes evidently tonight. So
apparently
better than some of the takes we've had before. News and notes. Go for it, Robbie.
Okay, well, I got a timestamp here. Holy smokes, you're double dutying me. Oh, man. So let's see. There are a bunch of demotions that are of note. Of course, we are the prospect show. So if you're looking for other guys getting sent down, that's not us. And there's a ton of guys out with the World Baseball Classic right now, which is in theory going to lengthen the amount of time a bunch of guys get to stay in camp. So these are somewhat notable to see that they've been sent down already, starting with St. Louis, Takeo Roby. We've got Baltimore's Chance McDermott, Kiter Montero with Detroit, Miguel Ilila, who we all are really interested in, I think, with Houston, Giancarlos Lara with Atlanta, which nobody cares about, not just because of his Atlanta, but mostly. Hector Rodriguez, outfielder with Cincinnati.
So
Austin Peterson. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
Chat on Rodriguez for just like 2 seconds, because if you listen to oh gosh, why am I blanking on his name? The guy with the Athletic that covers the Reds. Been
Pete
around
Rose.
for a long time.
Just kidding.
But he's been their beat writer for a long time, and I'm blanking on his name. I feel like crap because I've chatted with him offline a number of times. Real nice guy. Anyway, was talking about how everyone coming as they showed up for spring was talking Hector Rodriguez and how he looks the part. He's doing all the things, and then he went 2 for like 17 in spring, and so now he is going to AAA. But I don't think he has played above AA, so that's probably not the worst thing for him to go down to the minor league camp and work his way back up.
Well, they also have a million cusp outfielders to sort through.
Yeah, that's
in
the other
Cincinnati.
thing.
So maybe they want to give more of those guys times. So Cleveland pitching factory has sent Austin Peterson down. Tanner McDougal, pitcher with the White Sox, has been sent down. Cesar Prieto, an infielder with St. Louis. Jimmy Crooks, catcher with St. Louis. The one that I find on the list, either first or second most surprising, Daniel Espino with Cleveland, who anybody knowing prospects the last 5 years, Espino is a high velo guy drafted out of high school, tons of injuries. This seems like the kind of guy you'd want to kick around in camp as long as possible. Send him to minor league camp. So there he is. James Triantos with the Cubbies, Sterling Thompson, outfielder with Colorado. I'm assuming this is similar to the Reds situation where they got a lot of bodies they're going to be looking closer at, so they can move Thompson out as these guys start to play beyond the 4th, 5th inning, and they are almost getting to the point of full games.
It is kind of notable with Thompson. He was kind of expected to be in the first base corner outfield mix with them. Mm-hmm. And one of the other guys who's in that mix, Charlie Condon, is still in camp.
Yes.
Just something to keep note of, not saying that's going to mean that he's breaking camp, but he missed the first round of cuts at least, which is an interesting thing. The Rockies are getting an extra long look at him to see how he fits with the major league club. So
yes, Luis Perales, who was a former Red Sox, trade now with Washington. He was sent down. We've spoken about him this offseason. And Dave Sandalo Santos with Miami, a 1B, 3B. He was sent down. I'm sure we will be mentioning him again. Jesus Luzardo extension. It's baseball related, so cool. And then Jerkson Profar, fitting first name, and couldn't have happened to a better team.
I was totally going to say, is this when we're going to start talking about the Braves again?
So, Ben, you got a free pass here. Why don't you tell us what the Braves are going to do now?
I don't think anything different. I think what they end up doing is they platoon Eli White and Mike Yaz. Yeah. And Eli White's a hell of a defender. Mike Yaz is a hitter that really punishes right-handed pitching, and I think that they'll be just fine in that spot. It's just stupid.
Maybe even better, right? That's what you were saying?
Didn't he?
In all seriousness, no. But it's just, it's a shame. That's all. But we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like a second one.
Well, that's the thing that kills me. He's in the second year of a 3-year deal that was like, I think it was over $50 million. I know it was over 40. Like it's real money. Like stop juicing at the point. You signed the big deal.
He is losing $15 million this year. Last year he lost like $8 million out of his contract. So he's got one more year guaranteed on that contract. But the Braves could just say, screw it, and eat it, because if you listen to the comments that came out of camp, doesn't sound like very many people are upset that he's gone.
They did speak very much about him being a poor teammate, and as soon as it was official, he just bolted.
Yeah.
I'll say
Which
this.
last year when this came out the first week of the season last year. He had played in 3 games and then he got suspended last year. And he went through that entire road trip and then basically spent, after they got done with the road trip, went and met with Alex Anthopoulos, and they made a plan for when he would be with the team and when he would not. I mean, it was just immediate. He went through all the things that you should do as a teammate when you fuck up. And this time he pretty much did exactly the opposite, which is just, it's saying a whole lot right there to me without having to say a word. He's saying a lot. So,
well, I don't know how much if that had to do with him. The team might have been like, you just need to go.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how many of his teammates feel burnt by it. And I'll say this is a chip that Atlanta, if they put this on their shoulder and use it right, they're still a dangerous team. So, you know,
they did this when Acuna got hurt, and all of a sudden they kind of got a little chip on everyone's counting us out now. And that was 21. And they went out and they got Jock Peterson and they got all these retreads to kind of take the spot. But all those guys said, you know what? Everyone's like, well, they're just going to kind of coast into a playoff spot and exit in a hurry. And those guys were all inspired to say, hey, screw you. Eddie Rosario is going to suddenly figure out how to hit for a month and get a nice contract out of it. And, and that's, and Jock Peterson is going to inspire lots of men in Georgia to wear pearls. That was just a really fun moment in time. So Chad brings up that Zach Littell did sign with the Nationals. I think that's an interesting one just because we did mention 2 things that really aren't going to affect prospects. This one probably could, but it kind of sounds like the back of the Nationals rotation was already going to be guys like Foster Griffin and Jake Irvin and those type of guys in the 4-5 role. Yeah. And Brad Lord, to me, if Brad Lord gets pushed into the bullpen, I think that's better for Brad Lord. I think he's a much better multi-inning reliever, like an Andrew Miller type, if he's allowed to go for an inning or 2 every time he goes out. But yeah, it'll be, I don't think you're hurting anything now, but having Littell sign for a year, you throw him maybe July, he goes away, and that's when Susana comes up, and that's when, some of these guys that are knocking on the door for the Nationals, then they get their shot.
I think if Jake Irvin rebounds, like last year was horrible, but I think he had 30 starts or whatever, and he's amongst the top 3 starters in MLB the last 3 years in total starts, whatever. So he's durable, but I mean, he got, his teeth kicked in all 25. If he can get back down to league average ish, they would ship him out with multi-years of control left and all that to get in more of those guys. Cause they still have, Mikolas for the rest of the year if they want, if he likes it. Maybe there's a reunion, but I don't think
Josiah Gray coming back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's not a trade like Mikolas. I don't think is going to get picked up in trade. He's there just to work, and somebody might need him if their rotation gets devastated. But he's there to protect their own. So I feel like it's good. Like if Littell comes through and is solid, great. It'll be the exact repeat of last year, right? Deal him at the deadline, and hope you get something back.
For fantasy owners, it's 170 innings with 110 strikeouts sort of guy.
Yeah,
that's what Littell is. But he's not going to hurt you. He's not going to
points
hurt
league
you.
Guy if you're looking for an asset.
Oh yeah,
play points league. That's where you're going to get him. Just got to be careful that he can protect himself from losing.
Well, that's
depending
the
on
other
how many
things.
Negative points in your league you get for a loss.
Yep. So, all right. I think that's all our news and notes there, Sam.
That is, inquiring minds want to know though, Robbie.
I saw this.
What is your take on
Did you see the Discord conversation about this today?
I didn't see the Discord conversation, but I'm going to assume we're just talking about regular old cut up carrots. We're not getting into the baby carrots that look like tiny little carrots that are beautiful. And I'm not talking the baby carrots that are second utility grade carrots that go through a little churner and they come out looking like little baby carrots. Talking about the long ones that still have the little green at the end. Anyway, what you want to do is if you're cool and hip, you peel them, you cut them all same. You got to be within the same size, but you do oblong cuts so nothing looks the same, but they're all roughly the same size. Get the oven ripping to like 450. Carrots, oil, salt. If you want to do pepper, go for it. Pepper in, put them in, turn the oven down to 350. Then you let them go for about 30 minutes. You take them out, put them into a pan. In that pan, you're making what's called a glaze, fellas. So the glaze is just going to be a little bit of water. Carrots go in, they start cooking, put in some sort of honey, and then you put a little butter. You mount the butter, which is just spinning it around a little bit. Then you reduce that and you boil that down. It cooks in, gives a little glaze to your carrots. And that's the way to do it. So it's 2 methods: roasting, saute, done. You're going to love it. And then obviously you finish with fresh herbs, unless you're a psychopath. Gross texture. Why would you get a gross texture? You don't overcook them.
Carrots are delicious.
You cook them to the right consistency. So if you get like 1-inch type cubes, you guys use inches in American, roughly 1-inch wide pieces. You're going to be about 20 minutes in the oven to fully cook, and then you just finish with the glaze. If you want to go under, you go to 15. But at your home ovens, you can't rock it like I can with the commercial one. So maybe 20 minutes in American, or to me in Canada, would be too much. So you got to go. So that's how you do it. But let's talk prospects.
All right. Big 3, next 3. We have 3 so much fun teams tonight. We've got Cardinals, the Tigers, and the Marlins. We're going to start off with the Cardinals. The Cardinals had a really interesting offseason. They just decided that they were going to go into full rebuild, or at least they got rid of a lot of their regulars. Nolan Arenado is now playing somewhere else. Brandon Donovan is now playing somewhere else. Wasn't Sonny Gray there last year? He's now pitching for Boston.
That was a good trade.
There's a significant number
of
Wilson
Contreras.
Yes, Wilson Contreras is now in Boston as well. And so there's just been some movement, and their farm system is fun. I mean, I'm familiar with Gerangelo Cinche, who came over from the Mariners, but I'm curious about you guys, your guys' big 3 and next 3. Robbie, let's start it off with you. Your big 3 for St. Louis coming into 2026.
25, I had Weatherholt, Matthews, and Hentz. And henceforth, we won't be talking about them. But 26, I've got Weatherholt, Liam Doyle, who was their first-round pick in last year's draft, and Joshua Baez, the 22-year-old AAA outfielder. And he had himself a year last year, 20 home runs, 54 stolen bases. Meow. One of the reasons why I think the Cardinals were able to churn a bunch of bodies out is because they've got a AAA kind of roster that might be MLB ready. And maybe that's something they're going to do this year. And when we get into wedge players, I sadly have a catcher to talk about. But they seem to be at the point where I think they could push guys if they needed to. I don't think that's the plan, of course. They were able to take some of the take some of the players from the system in previous seasons that were prospects and bring them up. And then those are the middle infielders who have, Colton Wongs and things, who have periods of goodness. And the one thing they really seemed to struggle with was handing the ball to anybody but Yadi Molina behind the dish. And now they have multiple catchers of note. So for me, I'm going with Baez, Doyle, and Weatherholt. Ben.
I was going to say, those 3 are pretty hard to argue with. And JJ Weatherholt is hitting this spring. There's a lot of people that are drafting Connor Griffin, moving him up their draft boards. But I think JJ Weatherholt's going to stick.
I can't imagine Griffin sticks with the Pirates. I just look at how crowded they are.
I think it's got to be a contract happens, or else he doesn't.
Oh yeah, that'd be the way to skip it. You're right.
So last year, my big 3, Quinn Matthews, Weatherholt, and Hentz. And then this year, I got the same as Robbie. I have on Weatherholt, really high-level hit tool, but power and speed are probably going to be in the range of a 10 to 15 home run, stolen base sort of guy. And once they move him off short, I think he's going to be really good defensively, no matter which direction they go, if they send him to third or to second. So that's going to make him even more value. Doyle, a lot of people talking about him moving fast this year. If you want him to be a reliever, sure. I could see him moving up in a darn hurry and being a reliever, but the secondary stuff is a lot of average and maybe above average stuff, and control goes all over the place. And so sometimes his control is pinpoint for a game, and then the next game he's walking 7 hitters. So it would not surprise me at all if he ends up in AAA by the end of this year, but I'd be really surprised if he ends up in the majors as a starter this year. No. And then Baez, again, love the power and speed on him, but he's a work in progress defensively. That is, Chad talked earlier about the fact that Baez hit home runs in 3 straight games and then got sent down recently, which was the thing today. That's why he wasn't on the list that I had made earlier. But Baez got sent down, and a big part of it is he's really not good defensively. And this year, they're probably going to play a whole lot of guys to figure out what they have, as far as guys that are already at the major league level at the DH and the outfield spots. And Baez might push that by July, but I don't think opening day he's going to. They're going to wait for Jordan Walker to fall on his face. They're going to wait for, Lars Nootbaar to fall on his face. They're going to wait for those guys to kind of fall out of favor, and then he'll be up and he'll take a role. So yeah, I just want to bring up, I pulled this up just because I thought of it. We are talking tonight about the number 2, which is the Cardinals, number 4, the Tigers, and the number 8 Marlins farm systems, according to Baseball America's rankings.
Yikes. So no.
These are 3 very, very, very good systems. I don't know if I agree with that placement.
Deep systems, sure, but I don't know if I'd go with good, like ceiling might not be the highest.
Yeah, I think that they're all legit top 10 systems. I don't know that I would have Cardinals 2. I don't know that I would. The order I don't know that I would exactly agree with, but these are all really, really fun systems to talk about for that. So,
but that's what happens when you have catchers in your big prospect guys, is that they it artificially inflates
a lot of them,
the system. And like I mentioned, St. Louis has an issue in letting somebody just become their catcher. Now, of course,
which is why for all you fantasy guys, Ivan Herrera in a lot of formats cannot catch this year, at least not to start the year.
Yeah,
so that's another thing to think about. So how about next 3? If you want to get your timestamp in here, Robbie, I'll rattle off my guys,
baby. 28-15.
All right, so. Last year, I had Darlin Saladin, I had Yairo Padilla, and I had Shen Win Lin. And I am not going to talk about any one of those 3 again. All right. My next 3, I have Rainel Rodriguez, and he is listed as a catcher. And what I put on here is he reminds me a lot of Moises Ballesteros. And with the Cubs. And I think that in all of the good and bad ways, I don't know that there's ever a chance that he is going to be a full-time catcher at the major league level, but that bat is going to carry him, and it's going to carry him to be a very productive major leaguer. So Quinn Matthews, I have on here again. This was a guy who was kind of your prototype college lefty, number 5 starter. Then all of a sudden everything started coming out of the arm 5 miles an hour faster. Lo and behold, he got hurt. And now when he came back, everything's back to what it was before. So, I think he works as a back-end starter very well, and I think he's probably going to get that chance at some point this year. My last one on here is Brandon Clark. Came over in one of the trades with Boston this year. And this is a guy who would fit on Robbie's favorite size lefty things. He's not quite 6'6", but I think he's 6'4" and about 220. Just kind of well-built guy, big-time raw stuff, but he's been injured and had some control stuff in college, and that dropped into the 5th round. He was having a hell of a breakout last year and then ended up with blister stuff, and when he tried to come back, ramped up too fast and dinged his shoulder, and he was out for the rest of the year. But I think he could be one of those guys that either is a number 2 or 1B type of starter, or else he is one hell of a power reliever in the bullpen. I mean, obviously, health with every pitcher, but if he can make it to the majors, I don't think that there is a scenario that he makes the majors and is a number 5 starter. I mean, he's coming up, he's going to be a stud as a starter, where he's coming up and he's going to be, throwing gas out of the bullpen. And one thing, folks, I think it's underrated just how much gas is coming out of the Cardinals bullpen right now. Like, that is, last year they led the majors in miles per hour average among their relief.
Oh, did they really? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, granted, you had Helsley on the team for a while, and he left, but you still have Riley O'Brien, who's like easily topping 100 multiple times every game.
Mm-hmm.
Jojo Romero can touch 100. I mean, all these guys that they bring out there, they're bringing randos out of AAA, and they're throwing 102 on their first pitches that they get called up on. So velocity is a big deal there. He would kind of fit into that role. But I think obviously the Cardinals want to see him work his way as a starter. And it's big time fun stuff to watch for sure.
Yeah, he needs innings.
Yeah.
Like, that's almost the biggest struggle, right? Like, it's hard because what did he have last year? He was under 58, wasn't he? Or right around there? Like, if he doubles it, he still, reasonably speaking, isn't close a year later. Yeah. So
that's my 3.
Yeah, that's on my 3 last year. I had Robbie Padilla and Leonardo Bernal. Who's a catcher?
Catchers.
He was a catcher. He's a catcher, everybody, and I put him on the list. This year, I switched up my catcher like you did, Ben. Rainiel Rodriguez. I said hit first, maybe hit only, not a catcher. So we're like-minded in that. But of course, to your point, he can hit. I am repeating with Yariel Padilla, who went to rookie ball. He was a 24 J15 guy. He can do everything. He just doesn't have power. And there's another guy who I'll just echo back to when I get to that guy, we'll just have to remember Padilla in this moment when I do the breakdown on him. But there's a reason I think we're okay with that, other than the fact it's an 18-year-old Cardinal. And the other guy I've got is from last year's draft. It's their lone high school player, Ryan Mitchell, shortstop outfielder who was taken in the 2nd round. Lots of potential to dream on. I did have to dive a lot more than I would like to so far after the draft to find some coaching notes on him or scouting reports and things like that on him. So a lot of potential, 2020, a lot of potential, including a possibility of him being like a 2020 guy. He should be an asset on the base pass as well as in the field. And we obviously didn't see a debut last year for him. So we're going to be anticipating, first off, where he goes to start this year, if it's complex or if they throw him to rookie ball, and what he does. As the lone high school drafted player in the class, I assume they thought highly enough of him that he could be set up with a pretty clear plan for 2026. It's a matter of when we find out what that is based on his assignment. And
I think first thing they're going to figure out is where they're playing him defensively. I guess
outfield, shortstop,
playing shortstop and center field, and so it sounds like he's got the speed to handle the speed and the arm to potentially handle either one, which is a pretty damn valuable duo. If you can play both center and short, that's a pretty darn valuable thing to have. So there you go. But
not saying that's a comp. Just just saying that's happened recently in MLB, where a long time player at one position moved and now he's moving around a little more. So, but anyway, Ben, you got some wedgies.
That's awkward. All right.
Great.
So, name to know, I have Yoiker Fajardo, another one who was acquired from Boston this year. He's still just 19, but this is now his 3rd organization. The White Sox traded him. to the Red Sox, and then he was traded as part of the Wilson Contreras deal. Mid-90s fastball, it can be I have on here, it can be a bit too straight, but he has fringe plus slider and an above average changeup to go with it, and really freaking good control for a teenager. So this is the type of guy that could move quickly just because he can spot really well. So he could move up to AA pretty quick this year as a 19-year-old. And that's where he's going to run into, are you a pitcher enough to move beyond this? Or are you just able to control things? And guys aren't used to seeing that. So yeah, I'm really impressed with him. He's probably going to start in low minors, but like I said, he could be a guy that moves quickly through A ball and gets up to AA by the end of the year just because of that control. Draft pick, I have Jake Gurovich, nailed it.
First, I looked at him.
Looks like basically what he's going to do is he's going to hit for average, and he's going to hit for average.
That's it.
He's 6 foot tall and 215, and they have him listed as a first baseman, so that's not ideal. He's worked in left and third base, but he's obviously a first baseman playing those positions. So it's one of those guys that I put down, this is a bench platoon bat. And somewhere along the way, he's going to end up coming up. He's going to be a platoon guy because he might be able to, come up and be a really good pinch hitter that hits for, 280 as a pinch hitter. I'm blanking on the guy that did that for Colorado for a dang long time. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'll figure out who I'm thinking of right now, but I'll let you go with your Wedge guys, Robbie.
Well, I'll go with my draft sleeper because I don't have one. And that's because I looked at the names, Ben, and other than a lot of all college pitchers, a couple position players, the three players, the one you've mentioned, they are all very much in the mold of possible utility player with no stolen bases. And they may have had a season where they had some pop in college, but nothing where you're like, oh yeah, obviously that's a smart hitter. None of the reports looked like with more innings with more games you're gonna see this progression or anything. They all kind of looked like very organizational depthy pieces. And then the pitchers, I just didn't see anybody that popped out at me. So unfortunately my Ryan Mitchell in the next big three is doubling as that guy, and he's not really a sleeper as a second round pick. But wedge players, I've got Blaze Jordan, because how can you not? We've talked about things that have went on in his life since he was drafted, and I don't see how he doesn't come up at some point this year. Yeah, unless everyone's healthy and just hitting 250 and getting on base at a 315 clip, that it's decent enough. They're not going to try to let him go. But I feel like this is a year where he's got to do something, or he's just going to become a AAA player who's not a quad A guy because he's not getting the opportunity. Like Luken Baker came up for 3 years, I think, with St. Louis, got limited time and was sent back down. Now I think he's with the Dodgers. It doesn't matter where he is now, because this would have been his time to maybe get some more at bats with the Cardinals, but he's now older. And anyway, Jordan's that guy. And then the other one is Leonardo Bernal, who was with my next three last year. I know he's only 20, but I'm concerned with Rainier Rodriguez as well as their current catching depth, that he might be an odd man out, because he's perfectly fine, but he's not really going to be able to take over any of these guys because of his skill set. So he's a good catcher. I would love to see him in organization. Cleveland might be a great spot for him to be able to come up and do his thing. I know Bo Naylor's there, and I don't want to move him. I got enough dynasty shares. Plus he's Canadian. So, but anyway, I feel like those are two guys at two different stages, but Bernal's more of to the dynasty players out there. I'm a little concerned as to what his projection is within the Cardinals system. And with Blaze Jordan, I feel like this is a year where we're going to know what's up with him. Otherwise, he's going to fall into I don't know, the path of the never get a chance guy, and I don't want that to happen to him. So hopefully,
we'll remember when he hit a 500-foot home run sort of guy
on the YouTubes. Yeah.
So the guy I was thinking of was John Vanderwall.
He's only 23. We've been talking
only 23
for like at least 12 years.
Sure. No, the guy I was thinking of was John Vanderwall. And John Vanderwall, his first 9 years in the majors, played 849 games and only came to the plate 1,500 times. So he averaged like 1.5 plate appearances per game. That's definitely a pinch hitter specialist, right?
Yeah.
There. That's who I was thinking of.
Okay. Well, I don't have any questions for you guys about the Cardinals. That's a pretty thorough run through with them. I'm not as excited about Quinn Matthews. I don't think he's going to be a 5-starter. I think he's going to end up being a 4A pitcher or a failed starter. But
yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. It's just a matter of that's where his profile is now.
And neither of you guys took the Mariner guy as one of their next three. What are you guys thinking about Durangelo in that system? Do you think he's got a chance to be in the bullpen at the end of the year, be a starter in 27 like they had talked about with the Mariners?
No, I haven't seen what he's done this spring, but the initial talk right away out of the after the trade was that the Cardinals were gonna have him focused right-handed, which to me changes a lot of his value. And I kind of want to see that before I throw him on a list yet, because there's upside for sure, but it's a matter of I want to see what the heck it is before we dive in with both feet on that.
I think that's fair. Well, we have a organization that is near and dear to Michael Govier's heart, the Detroit Tigers. And Ben, why don't you start us off with that's right, go Tigers. Why don't you start us off with their big three?
All right, so last year I had Jackson Jobe, and that was on the way to look good. Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal, and 2 of those 3 are back. That's only because Jobe is graduated. But McGonigal, at this point, it's pretty hard not to put him as one of the 2 or maybe 3 best prospects in the whole game. Has worked on stuff to become a legit shortstop, always has had the hit tool, and BA has it listed as an 80 grade hit tool. And they talked about how they have given out 3 80 grades. Some guy who was interested in 14-year-olds, to Vladdy Jr. and to Kevin McGonigal. Those are the only 3 80s they've ever given out since they started doing 20 to 80 on their prospects. That's an impressive group to be a part of. Well, kind of. But there are a lot of people talking about McGonigal as a guy who's going to come up and hit 30 home runs too, which I think is just ridiculous. He could be a guy, and I've said this for a couple of years, I think now, who could put up Dustin Pedroia plus type of numbers every single year. Just 40 doubles, 25 homers, 310 plus batting average would not surprise me at all. Now, I'm not saying I expect that, but that could be what you're looking at here. Max Clark, another guy, kind of consensus top 10 prospect in the game. So pretty good duo for the Tigers, and all out of the same draft, no less. That's a really impressive pull from the same draft. Clark was social media famous before he ever got drafted, which has carried over, and the guy goes around with like 4 chains on and all sorts of crap because, I mean, there was a year where he outdid one of the Kardashian sisters as far as income off of Instagram. I thought that was hilarious to find out, but he couldn't cash any of it because he was still going to play college baseball. So he had to basically put it all into a trust fund, because if he cashed it at that moment, now they have NIL and things, but at that moment, if he would have cashed it, he would have been in deep crap. So, but he's developed into a guy who he has two very distinct swings. When he is in a good hitter's count, where he has got, 2-0 on a hit on a pitcher, he cranks back a swing that has a beautiful launch angle. And probably, if that was his swing every single time out, he'd hit 250, but he'd hit 250 with 40 bombs. But then he also has his normal swing, which is more slash and it's gap power, but he's hitting the gaps with, 100 plus exit velo with that slash swing. And so it's going to turn into a lot of doubles and triples and stuff that barely scrapes over the wall. But that's a pretty darn good swing to get on base and then use his speed, because he's got legit speed. Third guy I have on here is Bryce Rainier. And last year, just kind of like Connor Griffin, we came into the year not really expecting a lot out of him. And he showed that he can fix all the stuff that we really had worries about. He was a legit two-way prospect who could touch triple digits on the mound. And so some people thought maybe the Tigers might try to play the two-way thing with him. They did not at all. His defense has taken a big step forward at short. I think he sticks at short going forward. My only thing that I worry a little bit about is where the hit tool ends up. But I put down here that just the profile to me screams Ian Desmond, which for fantasy owners, that's a really sexy profile out of a middle infielder, whether he stays at second or is at short. That's a sexy offensive profile to have. So
it's too much sexy. You're saying it too much.
I'm sorry.
Too sexy.
I'm sorry. It's too much of the sexy. Should I get myself some fancy clothes and, put some color in my beard when I'm saying stuff like that? Really, creeper myself out. But
absolutely
anyway.
not. No,
no. Especially since I'm talking about a teenage guy right now. So
he's 20 really now. Awkward. I think you're good.
Oh, he is 20. He is 20. He is 20. Okay.
So Robbie, your big story.
On that note,
excellent. Love the transition. Last year I had Jackson Jobe, Jace Jung, and Sawyer Gibson Long because I wanted the next three to be more realistic to their timeline as opposed to their ceiling. So I took a little heat for it, and I don't care. This year, my previous year's next three are now in that position as the big three. I got Max Clark, Kevin McGonigal, and Bryce Rainier, who I wasn't sure, Ben, if you were going to pick him, because he did go down early last year with an injury. So my note here, and this is for the dynasty guy out there, with a potential down year ahead, recovering from shoulder injuries from 2025, he could potentially in season be had at a discount in your dynasty leagues. But make no mistake, this is Trevor Story early career exciting.
Oh, that's here. Very similar type of profile.
Lining that up with the shoulder issues that Story had as well. And it did not immediately come back and he was good to go. It was not a slow whatever. He's fine, but there was always strikeout concern with Rainier. We haven't seen enough at the pro level to know whether that is an issue, but I feel like he could be a guy that could be moved in dynasty leagues, possibly by a competing team who was able to pick him up a couple years ago when they weren't competing. And they're like, he's hurt, he's coming back. Seems like he's not that guy again, because of course the body's got to take that extra time. There'll be scar tissue where there wasn't before. There's stuff to happen within your body. So I feel like he would be an absolute steal to pick up in a league. And McGonigal, same deal. I mean, excellent player. Let's see what happens. Let's not see him falter. And then Max Clark, I think, was a safety reassign, because people were all over him as much as they were Bichette with the third base drills, as far as like, what's the deal? Max Clark, disrespectful young man wearing the chains, dropping balls. You can't do that. He's got too much crap on his, like, people just love to hate. Right. So I think Detroit maybe is doing the right thing of like, let's just reassign him to minor league camp where people aren't going to be watching, and he can go and do it. Same reps, exact same thing. He's just not on TV to be mocked for mistakes when we want him to be all the confidence of, as confident a player as he can be, simply because, it wasn't looking good on TV and in clips. And that's kind of to Chad's question here, a little surprised how quickly. I think it had a lot more to do with the fact that they wanted to keep his confidence level up. And if he is the kind of guy who reads the headlines or the tea leaves or whatever, this was an opportunity to get him back to what they want him to be, what he is, versus like maybe reading those things and thinking like, oh, like, should I do something different? Because everyone would say, no, don't, like, be yourself. But at a certain point in time, that like top prospects can hit that, that confidence can get shaken a little bit, and they don't want that with Clark.
And they're deep in the outfield. I mean,
yeah, there wasn't consideration for him.
Yeah, I mean, or at least as far as starting is concerned, you've got Kerry Carpenter, you got Riley Green, you've got Parker Meadows. Isn't he hurt right now? Or maybe he's not. Okay, well, anyway. Yield Perez is also there. Zach McKinstry. I mean, they got a lot of depth. Matt Vierling, all those guys who can play outfield as needed.
Yep.
Get back up in a hurry and prove himself, and then he'll be there. But right now, there's no reason to push that.
Yeah.
I left off Javier Baez. Jeez,
he had fielder time.
So,
God bless Javier Baez.
Still the best. I mean, I think Javier Baez will forever have the best YouTube video in baseball history when he did the backward running thing against the Cubs
the Pirates.
Ended up still getting to first base, or against the
Pirates. He was a Cub. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite baseball video to watch.
Yeah.
And only the Pirates at that time. That's totally a Pirates video.
That was absolutely a Pirates of that age. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Are we on to our Wedge people?
Next three.
Oh, for some reason, I thought we were talking about the next three. Their system's so deep. Tell me some next three names. Let's go. Robbie, are you ready for your next three? I want to hear who you think.
Absolutely. So last year, as mentioned, Max Clark, Bryce Rainier, and Jose Briseño were my next this year. I have reset the deck here with the youth on Chris Rodriguez, who was one of those exciting J2 signing or J15 signings last year. Well, he went to the DSL and he's fine. He's good.
Looked the part.
Yeah. So let's just keep having him come up. He's not Soto, who's going to be hitting high A early this year, moving to double A in the summer, and everyone's excited. That's not Chris Rodriguez. He is a massive young guy, and I think they're going to, let him be that guy. Jude Warwick is another one. He was a 12th round pick in 2024. And I was listening to the WBC, like all the games, just like the 10-minute recaps of them. And when I was writing in his name, I kept writing Horwick because Spencer Horwitz hit a home run for, I don't know if he's playing for whatever the country was he was playing. I don't remember what game I was watching, but I went back after. I'm like, Horwick, I don't remember that as the right name. Isn't it Warwick? So anyway, that's only funny for me, but now you all know how my brain works. Solid at the plate and in the field. Nothing flashy, but he's been getting it done, and he's only 20 years old. Now, we know there's excessive depth within Detroit, so he could end up at double A next year, maybe. That makes more sense as a 21-year-old in Erie. And then we'll see if they let him kind of hang out there or what's going on, or maybe he's dealt away if he's doing it again. And then my other pick is a little older, but also I think based on Detroit's current rotation, he is in the next category, is Andrew Sears, left-handed pitcher, 23-year-old. He was in Erie last year, 10th round pick in 23, which is why he's not a really well-known name. The thing people are going to like the most, 110 innings pitched last year, 123 Ks, solid control pitcher. I don't have up here, this will lead to you, Ben, Chad's question of how you lead. I don't have him up. He's not a wedge player because he's not old enough to be that. So I don't know if you've got him in your next or if you want to just take that now.
So last year I did have him in my next, and I can just kind of transition to that. Perfect. I had him, Owen Hall, and Thyron Lorenzo in my next last year. Lee is, I'm going to talk about somebody here in just a second. Lee is a crap defense, really good hitter sort of guy. And, the guy that Lee reminds me of is a Luis Arias light. I mean, he's not quite that much contact, but it's a very similar profile.
In the WBC, Arias is a power hitter. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, which is
for some reason.
Yeah. But and so Chad's talking about him being underrated. I think a lot of people know he is. He's in a system with a lot of depth, and we're going to get into talking about some more of this depth. He can't do the things at the position the way that other guys can that the Tigers have built up, as far as defensively, and then while he brings a good hit tool, that's kind of what he brings to the offensive game. And, not a ton of speed. I mean, he's a smart base runner, so obviously with base running rules, you can get more steals in the minors. But yeah, I don't know that I'm not off of him as a potential future major leaguer, but I think he's the type of guy that his best case scenario is having a year or two like Luis Arias had last year, and that's a major down year for Arias from the previous years that he's had. So my big three, I've got Briseño on there. You had talked about him as a big three next three last year. Yeah. My next three, I have him on there. Injury this year means we're probably not going to see a whole lot of him, unfortunately, at least until mid-year, if not a little later. But power's legit. I think he's going to need to move to first long-term, and this probably just helps with pushing that process along.
Yeah.
But one of the names that popped up a lot here, and yes, he's a Brave player, but that's not why I heard it. As I was talking to guys down in Arizona, somebody brought up, every time I watched Briseño, it was Matt Olson. And I went, oh, well, because one thing Matt Olson has a really good eye, but does not take a lot of walks. And he'll have a good amount of strikeouts. He's not a guy that's going to walk 100 times. And Briseño doesn't seem to have the walk rate you would expect for a guy who has an eye as good as he does. But when he gets a hold of a ball, he cranks it. And that's something to think. He's going to be one of those guys down the road. Max Anderson is my second guy to talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
Raw tools should never be anywhere near this list. But he is always raw tools. And one of those guys who anywhere you put him defensively, he struggles. But if it weren't for McGonigal, he would have been the AFL MVP last year. Hitting wise, he hit something like 400, 500, 800 out in Arizona, and it's just he was just, you couldn't get him out. It's going to be, there's just not a ton of power there. He kind of hits like Ichiro. He's on his front foot when he makes contact, and so if he would sit back, he might be able to generate more power, but I don't know if he's going to he would have the same contact skills that he does now. But again, this is another guy. That's why I mentioned it with Lee. There's another guy in this system who is bat first, defense not at all. And
right.
I mean, you got to figure out where that role is. And I think he's got a little more contact ability than Lee, which could settle him into a role where maybe he factors into like a DH role, playing second base sometimes sort of thing. But what I will say is he went from unplayable defensively to where he's just below average now, which is still not great, but it's a huge improvement from what he was. If he can make an improvement to the point where he's just an average second baseman, that bat could play.
Well, Vladdy, obviously we're talking a tier up from this, but Vladdy was horrific at third base, but really wanted to play it, and the Jays kind of permitted that for a period of time. Edwin Encarnacion was the stabilizer at first base before that, and he was a horrific third baseman to the point that, the A's didn't want him and Toronto was able to get him back, I think is how that worked out, before he popped when they moved him off. And then he opened up and talked about how he would be bad in the field and would take that to the plate, and it affected him. So if it's not affecting Anderson, as it looks like it didn't last year, or Lee for that matter, good. But to your point of needing to be able to help the major league team in the field, it will make it quite difficult to break in, because there'll always be a Ramon Urias to put on your bench as the wily veteran, as opposed to bringing up this kid who can't help you defensively. And you're not going to bring up one of these guys. Well, I'm saying kids, whatever, 23, 24-year-olds. They're not going to come up to be a bench player when they could get full-time at AAA. They're going to wait till there's an injury to open that up. And I did, circling back very quickly to St. Louis, forget to say that with Urias going to St. Louis, that adds further depth to the idea of you're going to want to find out what's going on with Nolan Gorman at third base, and Urias is going to steal at bats if he's still struggling and Kane too much. And second base, same thing. It's going to open it up, whether that means Weatherholt is up early, as we would all love to see, or if it means Urias is going to frustrate people like he did in Baltimore, taking at bats away from the prospects. But F the Orioles, right? So
my third one, Rodriguez, you talked about Chris already, so I don't really need to get into him. Are we ready for some wedge guys?
Let's wedge it.
All right. So my wedge player happens to be a shortstop, and this is why guys said Lee,
short skirt. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
everybody.
Yeah.
I thought you said Atlanta Braves.
I was going to get into a Weezer song, but anyway. But the sorry,
I don't think that's Weezer.
John Peck is the guy that I'm bringing up, and it's why I think guys like Lee and guys like Anderson aren't going to really have a lot of future in this system, because they have guys like Beck, who you could make a really good argument that he is a 70 defender, just that level of holy crap shortstop defender, and 60 plus speed. So I mean, a guy who can really run and he can play a hell of a shortstop. That's a guy that has a bench role always, almost always. And, because of the depth in their system, people have probably overlooked him to some degree, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he ends up at least being a backup infielder. And I mentioned this with somebody, maybe it's on the Marlins. It is on the Marlins. I know it is. But that Jorge Mateo type of role, where he's a holy crap runner and can play a really good middle infield, that type of a player.
Yeah, as a wedge guy on my end here for Detroit, I was looking at
my draft guys, but
we'll circle right back right after, because I've got a little more on my draft guy. But I've got Thyron Lazaro, who had a terrible season and needs to be more better. But we also know that there were things going on and off the field that he's rebounding from beyond baseball. So I think that he is the catcher of the future still, with Briseño possibly, as Ben said, moving to first or the DH idea when he returns. So 25 is really important for him, and I think there's going to be a AA repeat here. I don't think you want to necessarily move him up to AAA after he didn't beat up AA pitching. You want to see him at least start the year well, because then he can be knocking on the door, and it could likely be one of those rookie 2027 comes up behind the starter and no, he's not there to push for the at bats. He's just in the organization. And the other guy is Isaac Pacheco, who's a 23-year-old. He was a second round pick in 21, power bat, 17 home runs and 341 at bats last year, and a combined 40 extra base hits. But yet to see AA, doesn't steal, 380 OBP. I think he is amongst this crew of prospects. He is a potentially wedged out guy because of all the names we've mentioned already, right? Good defensive players, guys with high levels of offense. He's just down below them in experience. Mind you, he has shown the ability to have quite a bit of pop, which might be able to help him.
Yeah.
But we don't see any of these complete players in the sorry, I shouldn't say any. We don't see multiples of the complete players. We see Detroit's got one, which is great at multiple positions. But all the other guys seem to be missing that complete player thing for the Wedge guys. So who's your draft, or who are your draft sleepers?
My draft guy I have on here is Trevor Heichman. He was their 9th round pick. He's a left-hander.
I got him too. Yep.
All right. Physically filled out. Kind of a 2-pitch guy right now. So long-term project, but has the frame. And from what I understand, he's fairly athletic on the mound. So this is going to be a slow burn, but a lefty with this type of stuff, I mean, that could be a good mid-rotation type of starter.
6'4" lefty.
Yeah, 6'4" lefty. Yes, this is true.
Mid-90s fastball, system, right? Detroit's got that history. So
just going to take some time, and he'll need to find a third and a fourth pitch. He'll need to, increase his or improve his control to some degree. But that's pretty much every high school pitcher. And if you get a guy like that in the 9th round and people are getting basically the same profile in the 2nd round, you're doing okay as Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, I had him as well. And the other guy I had, which isn't necessarily a sleeper, but I think he is, because we often look past the high school guys drafted in the 1st round, and it's Jordan Yost, who was 24th overall. And Detroit has done quite well in drafting high school position players recently, and we've just discussed some of those guys tonight.
Hell of an athlete.
Yeah, he is, of course, future projectable, right? And that's what Detroit has to figure out, is what can they do that really maxes him out. They didn't have to spend a ridiculous amount or anything like that on him. He was all within pool. He's contact hitter, decent discipline, but again, high school pitcher. So let's see what they do with him in pro ball. I did pick him up today in, I forget what round I said it was, 6th or 7th round of a draft, because he was just sitting there and I don't have any shares of him. And he is definitely one of the high school guys who has fallen the most of the first year player draft.
Yeah,
leagues.
Which is, I don't know. I don't know if it's the depth of the Tiger system at the position that is scaring people off or what it is, but which is stupid, because if you're thinking about a high schooler coming out of the draft, who the hell cares what's in A through AAA ahead of them? Who cares? Now, granted, if you have an established star, if you're talking about a shortstop drafted to the Kansas City Royals right now, and he's pretty much an okay guy if you put him anywhere other than short, because his short defense is kind of his big calling card. Okay, that's a guy that maybe I'm going to lower in value because he's on the Kansas City Royals and they have an established guy that's going to be there for a decade. Mm-hmm. But other than that, why are you caring?
There were a lot of,
even if they got a Connor Griffin ahead, even if you've got a Kevin McGonigal ahead, those guys they're
not locked.
Locks for the position. And that's, I don't know. It's still, and neither is Yost. Yost could end up in center field. He could end up at third base. He could end up at second. He could end up all sorts of places. The talent is really impressive, and I don't understand why he has slipped so much, because
only thing I can think is there were a bunch of high school drafted shortstops before him. So perhaps there was fatigue on we focused on all these guys, and he was just further back, there was other news to cover that day. And then in a year from now, we'll be like, wow, Jordan Yost has popped at Complex and moved into, whatever. So anyway, that's enough Tiger talk.
Are we ready for an ad?
We are ready for an ad. I was just going to say real quick before we get into the ad, I was just going to say, I think this is different than some of the conversations we've had about other organizations where there's nobody there to take a position. And here it's like, you're talking about somebody that, were they in a different organization, we probably would hear a lot more about them. And there's just a lot of excitement surrounding them. So,
or we'd like the idea of them more. Whereas now, like Ben's saying, they're not a complete player. So I don't think they're not going to get to the next level. They're not even going to be the bench bat, which is, I guess, to the organization's credit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
So I go to a party and I got my choice of Coke or Pepsi. This isn't right. I want a Boku, a 7-fruit blend Boku. I mean, all this carbonation is very unsettling. I don't want to belch anymore. Belching is for babies. I want to be refreshed naturally, calmly. I mean, it's my undeniable right as a man of the 90s to quench my thirst in my own way. I want a Boku. I've had it. People invite me to a party, I'm bringing my own Boku.
Boku fruit juice cooler from McCain.
Is that too much to ask?
Rest in peace,
It's
Richard
amazing.
Lewis.
Just amazing.
That's a great one, but rest in peace, Richard Lewis. But
I have never heard of that product.
No.
Not until Mike brought
90s.
that up. Yeah, Mike put that on here. I had no clue that existed. So
Yeah.
but they got a big name at that time, I mean, Lewis was
pushed the
fairly
product.
well known.
Oh, absolutely. I think Robbie and I are just a little disappointed that your video is 6.5 minutes long. I think that's really where our heads and hearts were at.
I was hoping we would get to it during the break there, but no.
You wanted me to play that instead?
Yeah.
That'd be the commercial.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into Miami. Once we get through with the fish, we can get to this video. And if maybe if this one gets enough traction, if people really want to know what the video is, let's see it in the Discord. And then not the video. Let's see the desire for the video in the Discord. And then maybe we can do that.
Share this video, make this go viral, and we will release the tapes.
That's
We
right.
will absolutely.
Oh, my
So
word.
now, hey, we are going to the land of bass. We are going to the land of Vanilla Ice. I mean, DJ Magic Mike. We are going to the home of Shaquille and Dwayne Wade.
Mara,
So-
let's go.
Miami Vice. Let's talk about Miami's big three and next three. Robbie, I want to know. I really
Wanna know what
want-
love is?
Yeah.
So last year, love was Agustin Ramirez. Boom, nailed it. Robert Snelling. All right. And then Devison de los Santos. Okie dokes. This year, it is Thomas White, who has graduated on my list and has since been injured. I understand. He's 21 years old. This is the guy for Miami, the next up one. I love it. Nothing against Snelling. Avi Arquette is on the list. Welcome to the big three, not the next. And he's up simply because he was their first round pick in last year's draft. He, like we talked about Doyle and others, could be a quick riser. He is a huge kid, hard hitter. There are potential strikeout concerns as we move to full-time wood bat, and the possibility that he could go to a corner infield spot, meaning third base specifically. He moved to shortstop last year and did quite well. But if Miami sees that there's a spot he could maybe move to this summer, and that's the spot that he's going to kind of move up quickly from, that could be their move. To his credit, after 2 years, I can't remember where he went to school first. I think, did he go to Oregon last year before draft? Or
He was Washington.
Washington.
and then
Okay.
Oregon
He
State.
moved from second base to shortstop and handled it quite well. And did debut last year with some time at high A. So I'm quite interested in him. And then the other guy, how can you not? Owen Cases, the Canadian, rocking it at the WBC with the Naylor Bros and everything. He was a second round pick of of San Diego in 2020. He was traded to Chicago. They didn't know what to do with all that talent, so they shipped him off to Miami, where they like to have 7 major league outfielders at any given time and play infielders in the outfield for some reason. So anyway, the potential here of 20 home runs with that 388 OBP in his second go at AAA last year should be the calling card that the organization needs to know. We just have to find playing time for him. We don't want him to come up and sit on our bench. He should be your reason why Griffin Conine might be moving to first base, because you want Cases in the outfield. I know there's talk of that right now, that they don't have like a legit guy. So they're, is it going to be Hicks, who's the former Tiger and the Rule 5 pick last year? What are they going to do there? I'm not as interested with that, how it all works out at first base, but I love the idea of clearing the deck for Owen Cases to be able to make a permanent move this summer. He certainly looks like it, and going to AAA for a third straight year in full would not be ideal for him. So I'm really hoping that this is his final session here before he really establishes himself. So White, Cases, and Arquette are my big three. I like it.
And you're not worried about Avia's torn abs that he has that and pretty significant injury. He's going to be out for 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks.
I'm not worried that it's going to prevent him from being a big time prospect.
Okay.
I think the quick riser status, once he's like playing, is still in place. It's a matter of what do the Marlins need. I was trying to think beforehand of like what's their contractual situation, because I remember diving into this when they had too many outfielders. And where are we looking here? Like Otto Lopez, Canadian. He is apparently locked in, but we haven't seen any career longevity or success with Lopez. So I don't know.
And Lopez has no options, so he's probably staying up.
Well, not that he's going. Sorry, not that he's going to be off the team, but I just mean he's not like locked in as like that's their guy.
Yeah.
And then Xavier Edwards, similar situation, right? That slapdick prospect that he once was. Never forget, Snell. Never forget.
Never will.
Yeah, there's opportunity for him. For Avi Arquette when healthy, and like ideally, you don't want to see him in 2026. We all know Trey Savage's thing was really neat and cool last year. That's not what we should want for a lot of these prospects. We would rather them be the opening day starter the next year, and they kind of make room for them. And depending on what happens with a bunch of these guys, like when you look at Miami's roster, like Marseille kind of coming out of nowhere, Edwards, Kyle Stowers, same thing, Ramirez, Conine, Lopez, Christopher Morel off the scrap heap at that part of that first base thing, whether he can come back with a bat or not. Connor Norby, and then possibly Cases could slip in. I mean, it's fun. I don't know how productive it's going to be, but I would love to see this as the Miami kind of opening day line. I'd like to see Hicks in instead of Morel, but that's a lefty bat and a righty. So either way, it's liquid. So Arquette could possibly move around, not this year, but move in, because you don't see any of these guys looking. I shouldn't say any. Most of these guys are not in a position where they're locked in, at least not at this point in time. But maybe 400 at bats into this year, that'll change.
Yeah, their team has really been in flux for a few years. So I think you're right in that sense that there's plenty of opportunities for people to seize jobs, and there's plenty of opportunities for them to play around with their lineup all year long.
And they're not signing 32, 34-year-old guys to plug in.
This year they're not. They had in the past.
You're right. Yeah, you're right, Ben. This year they're not, which is a positive change.
I mean, they did in their bullpen. That's a little frustrating.
Sure,
but
that's different.
But still,
everybody pulls names into their bullpen on a certain level. Like I'm not as worried about that. They're not pulling that Colorado Rockies, we've got promising talent. Let me bring Ian Desmond back in since we were given them early.
Now, in defense, Ian was actually really good when he was there.
Yeah, and he blocked the development of Taylor and Rogers. Like they should let those kids play. I think they ruined him, but that's neither here nor there. Ben, why don't you tell us the big three for Miami?
Yeah, last year I had Ramirez, Thomas White, and I had Robbie Snellen, and I am coming back with two of those same three guys. Thomas White, fastball's an easy plus pitch I have down, and it's the worst of his three main pitches. He's got some ridiculous raw stuff, but once he got into the upper minors, the control was hit and miss. I think there's, with the injury, I think that there's a good reason to send him to the minors and let him A, find a fourth pitch, B, really make sure that control is where it should be in order to come up to the majors. But his 3-pitch mix is 60 to 70 pitches. Like that's ridiculous to watch him just go out with what he has. It's just, there are a few guys in the majors who have that kind of a mix on their pitches. Snelling, he was a stud athlete in high school, was a highly recruited quarterback, and I think linebacker, actually. Quarterback and linebacker, two-way player in football, and a two-way player in baseball that was recruited pretty heavily for that, too. And got traded to Miami, struggled in that first season with the Marlins in their system, and then bounced back a lot this last year and developed himself into more of a 2-3 starter where if you ask me, I think he has a lot higher floor than White, nowhere near the ceiling.
Ben, where would you say his floor is versus White's?
I think he's probably a 4 starter. It's higher, but I mean, White could flame out and not even be a useful bullpen piece because of his control. I think Snelling has come up enough with his control that he's a for sure starter. He's got the mix of pitches. It's going to be a nice setup. And then I have Owen Casey, and just like you were talking about, I've been a huge fan of him. I've fought this number of times, not on this show necessarily, but we all like to argue online as fantasy baseball people. So just look at Twitter or X or whatever Elon's calling it today. I put on here, he's a consistent improver over his career in the minor leagues. Every single year, he improved facets of his game. But he got up to the Cubs, and the Cubs basically said, okay, how about you come up here and we'll play you once every 8 days, and we're going to pull you in the 3rd inning when we do play you. How are you ever going to get to be a solid major leaguer when your major league time consists of come up here, sit on the bench, and then we don't trust you enough to even leave you in the game, man? So I think there's enough. This is kind of your perfect right field profile. Big time power, big time arm, works perfect in that. Defense probably could use a little work, but it's not going to hurt you there. And he's a good enough athlete to where it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's 7 to 12 steals here too, on top of a guy who could, if he really plays out. I mean, Miami's park is big, so I'm not going to say 30 home runs, but this is a guy that could give you 20 and could give you 7 steals. That's pretty damn good. That's not something you're getting from just everybody in the outfield. So yeah, that's my big 3 with the Marlins.
Yeah, you guys are both big on Owen Casey. Cassie? Is that how you say his last name?
Cassie.
I think
gonna hit the ball out of here, Z.
I thought they said Casis on WBC, and that's when I was like, "Oh, really? I should pronounce that one right since he's on, Team Canada." So I'll double. We'll talk about it in a week. I will confirm.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what he's able to do now that he's out of Chicago and he's got a real opportunity to just play. One of the points we didn't make earlier, but we danced around it, is how important defensive ability is to getting on the playing field. There's a lot of the bat first, no position, no defensive players that if they were able to play major league defense, we would be watching them develop as hitters, no problem. And it's nice to know that he doesn't have those issues coming around for him.
I've got a couple of those guys still to talk about, though.
I'm sure, for sure. The next 3 and the Wedge 3, I'm sure that's where we're getting it. So why don't you hit us with your next 3 for the Miami Marlins? So
last year I had PJ Morlando, Starlin Caba, and Adam Mazur, and 2 of those 3 we're not even going to talk about. So the other one, they ain't going to be talked about right now. My first one in my next 3 is Joe Mack, and I think this is the answer to the first base problem. I think Augustin comes out and has about 7 or 8 pass balls in the first month, and Mack comes up and hits you 15 home runs to 20 home runs the rest of the way, and is a Gold Glove finalist as a catcher, because that is the level of catcher he is. I believe he's 2 years running the minor league Gold Glove winner at catcher, but really freaking good defensive catcher. Has another guy who has improved every single year on the pitch recognition and on the swing and miss. That's when you move up to the upper minors and you get better at that, that's really eye-catching. And that's exactly what he did. And he's always had plus power. He just finally got settled in at catcher enough to where he could use it, and it came out big in the last 2 years. I have Arquette on there in my next 3. I think the profile is probably a power first third baseman.
Yeah.
But I have down here that he's going to be a guy who is in high A for a bit, working on pitch recognition, and then it's going to click and you're going to see him in the majors 3 months later. It's just, he's a guy that there's a little bit of pitch recognition stuff, a little bit of swing and miss. And I think they have the depth of young players at the positions he plays well in the majors and minors that they can allow him to work out that stuff right away. But he said it'll be a quick mover once he gets it, sort of thing. And then my last one on here is Kemp Alderman. And I am a big, big fan of him. The power is just ridiculous. The guy was hitting balls out all over the Southern League, and the Southern League is one of the toughest leagues in minor league baseball to hit a home run. But this is where we get into he makes Owen Casey look like a really good defender in outfield, and Casey is a borderline average defender, if even that. But a very similar profile. It's just a tick below Casey on everything. In all reality, he might have more raw power than Casey. He just doesn't get to it in the game in the same way Casey does. So that could be a really fun guy to come up and be their DH if he can get up there and they don't have that spot claimed. It's hard to knock a Conine out of position in Miami. That's just, there's legacy involved here, folks. But that's my third guy on my next. How about you, Robbie?
On my next, I had last year Starlin Caba, Thomas White, Noble Meyer. Meyer, I'm not talking about tonight, but he is still coming along. Walks, control, however you want to call it. It's still an issue for him, but he is going to be 21 this year. So he is by no means a dead prospect. He is just certainly taken longer. Liken him to Mick Abel as the high school development, where it wasn't seemingly coming together at the rate that all the fantasy people wanted, but it was still not regression that we have seen from some other guys. So White.
And now I've been cursed out twice this offseason for drafting Mick Abel where I drafted him in fantasy drafts.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's like, oh, you son of a bitch, I wanted him. Yeah.
I love his path to Minnesota pre-injury, not his injury, but to the rotation there. And I still think he's going to get a bunch of starts. So anyway, I am repeating with Starlin Caba, who did come over in a trade with Philly, and I just wanted to read his line, but lucky for me, I dropped the screen. I'm more interested in this one, which is the fall league last year, where he in regular at bats, 74 of them, 297, 409 with a 828 OPS. Yeah. He did have two ding-a-dongs. He missed time last year.
Better.
Well, he missed time last year. He only had 194 at bats in A ball, so the AFL was like a necessity for him. But I think it was also an excellent step in both confidence and competition. So I'm assuming they will possibly repeat him because he only has 350 plate appearances in A ball before they move him to the summer to Beloit to be part of the Sky Carp, which is an excellent ballpark to play in and an organization like within their organizations. It's a great one.
Aren't they Midwest League? They've got a Midwest League for their high A, right? I think
that's the Sky Carp here.
Yeah,
that was one of the teams I got to see in 24.
And he is, at least I mentioned who is the best defensive shortstop in the minors. This guy won the Gold Glove last year as that. And that was with almost no time on the field. Like, that just kind of tells you what he is.
That's how good he is. He doesn't even need to play.
Yeah, there you go. But I have on here, a weak bat could limit him. There we go. There's my Jorge Mateo comp. That he's got the speed, but he can't make anything for power, which I will say in the fall league is not what he looked like. And everyone who kind of bashed on him coming into fall league went, where the hell is this coming from? Like, all of a sudden he can hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and turn it around with 105 exit velocity, which is really nothing he ever did. It's really interesting to watch because the speed is holy shit, but his decision making is holy shit in the wrong way. So as far as stealing bases, so I
That's
worry
coaching though, right? That can be helped by letting them know when to go and make the play, don't make the play. So,
but yeah, and not a guy that strikes out. I mean, I think more walks and strikeouts in his minor league career too. So
yeah, he's on my next 3. I still have him on the board. I didn't want to. He's the oldest of my teens, although I think he might now be 20. Kevin DeFrank, because I just don't have enough pitchers just in general this year under the next. So he's my guy, a DSL pitcher. He's been picked up in all the somewhat deep dynasty leagues, and definitely in all of mine he's picked up. 10 walks in 31 innings pitched. I mentioned that first because that's totally fine when you're throwing 100 miles an hour. You got a 70 grade fastball. Mind you, you're going up against, preteens in some instances and 25-year-olds of the DSL. But 34 Ks shows that he's battling, I would say, more with himself than the competition. But he's 6'4", big guy, great slider. Or sorry, not great slider, serviceable slider, great changeup. So he should be stateside this year, and we'll see what they want to do with him. But this could for sure be a guy. Chad's saying in the chat here, he's thinking, the RP route of relief pitcher, but of course you're going to max him out for all he can be as a starter before you move him into the bullpen. And again, he has the look, mind you, at 17, 18 of he could be an impactful pitcher right now. The other guy I've got is Ronnie Munoz, because they just seem to have these international guys, and this is their prominent guy for this year. 1.45 million signing bonus, speed, defensive first, but he hits the ball well. We're going to need to see what he does in the DSL this year, like a Chris Rodriguez. Now, I don't believe he's got some funky build. He's not 6'8" or anything like that. He's a 17-year-old shortstop, but I just like this idea of Miami having options right up at the major league level. They've got, their own prospects in AAA, not the scrap heap guys, as we talked about at the major league level or in their minors, how the Angels filled in their system with a bunch of veterans like they needed to. Miami's not in that position. They've got their own homegrown or traded in guys. But at the lower levels, they've also started to build some really nice looking depth that we'll see kind of how they rise up here. So Munoz, Caba, and DeFrank are my trio for the next.
I like those names. Now, what do you guys got for wedge guys? Who do you got?
I one that I got to watch down in the Arizona Fall League and was really interesting is Carson Milbrandt. He's 6'2", but if by looking at his arms and legs, you would think he's like 6'6". It's just like a whole lot of arms and legs. And then you add that his delivery is a little bit of funky. It just, as a hitter, it's really hard to pick up. And then he can bring it close to 100 mile an hour. There's a lot to like here. The issue is that funky delivery gets off base quite a bit, and then he can't hit the strike zone, and that becomes an issue. When he is on, though, he's got 6 pitches that he can use. When he's on and locating them, he mows through lineups real fast. It's going to be a fun one to watch to see how the Marlins handle that, because if you don't want to play too much with that delivery, because that's what kind of allows him to be what he is.
Right.
But at the same time, you want to have him hit the zone more often. So then my draft guy is actually another pitcher, because it's the Marlins. We got to talk pitching. But this one is a Jake Clement, their 7th round pick. Came out of the University of Florida, and because of injury, they basically kept him in the bullpen this year, or this last year, and he had been a reliever the year before. If they want to keep him as a reliever, the Marlins, this is an upper 90s fastball that kind of hits 100 pretty easy, and a slider that's an easy plus slider. And he's worked with a few other pitches, but if he wants to just focus on those two, he could move quick as a reliever. But he's got the frame. He's got one of the comps that I saw on him is another Florida guy that came out and ended up in the Mets system and went the reliever to starter route, and that's Christian
Tim
Scott.
Tebow. Oh, sorry, who?
Christian Scott. Yeah, no. Tebow's off saving trafficked young women now, so that's what he's all about.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Just
good for him.
Just ask him because he'll love to tell you. But that's anyway. It's okay to kneel if you're Tebow.
Oh my goodness.
Not if you're another quarterback. Anyway, but Clement, I think, could be a very fun guy to watch, and especially the way this system is loaded with pitching, they don't have to push him hard. And so they could allow him to develop and potentially become someone like Scott did and, build into a starter. So
cool.
That's my wedge guys.
My wedge guy you have as a next guy, which is Kemp Alderman. And I'd say my note on him is 2020 potential, but not the D you want in the outfield. And that's why he's a wedge guy, because I don't know what they'll realistically do with him. And then my draft note on Miami was no high schoolers. This draft, like these three teams, Miami, Detroit, St. Louis, somewhat frustrating in finding sleepers in the sense of a project that you might put on your watch list this year for next year's, draft, or if you can pick up in season, whatever, because they don't have it. But what they did have was Caden Wilson was the guy that I saw, their 9th round pick. Mid-90s fastball, 6th-year grade slider. He's a relief pitcher, and I guess Miami thinks he could be an elite relief pitcher because they paid him $697,000, which was just under $500,000 over slot, which is what drew me to him in the first place after I noticed no high schoolers. So Chad's talking about Kevin DeFrank being a relief pitcher. Well, Caden Wilson should be on the fast track as the lefty for that. So I'm kind of watching to see, do they do the go to Beloit to start, move up to AA after that? What are you going to do with him? Because he doesn't have innings on his arm to justify elite whatever, but obviously the pitches are elite. It's the resume, the repertoire is fine. The resume needs some longevity to it. So
that's where my worry is with Clement, because they picked Clement in the 7th and then him in the 9th. And I thought, you're picking two kind of college reliever-y guys who could possibly start, but maybe you're picking two college reliever-y guys that you think you can move quick.
Yeah, be relievers, not starters.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll play Holmes right, where they come up as relievers, and then they sign a multi-year deal, and the team that signs them says, hey, let's put you in the rotation.
Let's change that thing. All right.
That's right.
But okay.
That was amazing. You guys were efficient. You guys were on it. We got through all this information. Robbie and I are going to be on the YouTubes here in a few minutes.
Immediately following this.
Oh my God, absolutely. Can't miss television. Those are three really interesting organizations. I think you guys are right. I don't know if it's 2, 4, or 8, like you were saying from Baseball America. I think that's more about real life talent and not necessarily
fantasy for sure. Yeah.
Fantasy, right. But I think from a fantasy perspective, they're all 6 through 10. I think they're all top 10 organizations. They've got a lot of fun things that are going on. And
you can argue legitimately, if you were to take over an MLB system for your fantasy team, all three of these have players that different fantasy managers are going to want priority. Mm-hmm. Like the obvious answer is, I want Detroit. They got the two big guys, but somebody else is going to say it sucks filling catcher. I love the idea of St. Louis having some guys I can plug in. Detroit's got a couple guys I could plug in. And then you look at Miami, like, well, you need solid shortstop. There could be something there, but they got lots of outfield for me to take from too. Like there's a good little plethora of options within these organizations. So yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, Sam, have you seen the question here?
I have, and I wanted to ask you two before I gave my opinion. What do you guys think about Luis Castillo?
He's actually looked amazing this spring. Everything I've seen, everything I've heard is actually pumping him up quite a bit. So I actually picked him as my 3rd starter in my either my TGFBI league or in Palazzo, one of the two of them. But because I was really impressed on the reports I've been getting out of spring on him.
You, Robbie?
no dynasty shares, which means I have no skin in the game. In the leagues where there's salaries attached, he is an expensive player to acquire, and I am not interested in paying that price. But I don't think he's cooked. I just feel like the expectation is here and the actual is going to be a little lower. And if we see him, pitching better, I think you could be pleasantly surprised with it, but I don't think you should expect quality start after quality. Like, I don't know if a dozen quality starts is going to be a great year for him. That he's going to need more ground balls and strikeouts to get those, I think.
Yeah.
No,
and he's not 21, 22 Luis Castillo, right, when he was considered to be one of the top pitchers in baseball, minus his April starts. But he's not a thrower. He's a pitcher. He's got great presence on the mound. There's not a lot of moments that if they go bad for him, it throws him off his game. Like, he's able to think like a goldfish and get right back to attack the next batter. And you see, even when he doesn't have his best stuff and he's walking a couple too many batters, that he still fights through it. And I'm encouraged. I think that now that the expectations have been shifted to Wu and Gilbert and Kirby in that rotation, and nobody's really talking about everybody who was a Mariners fan was talking about, is he the guy that's going to get traded to make room for a couple bats, or what are they going to do with him? I think he's going to pencil in the next couple years as our number 4 or 5 starter and just absolutely kill it in that role. That Luis Castillo on any other rotation in the majors, with very few exceptions, is going to be their number 2 or their number 3 guy coming in, because he's going to eat innings. He's not got a greater than 9 Ks 9 Ks every 9 innings. He's not really that much further than a K an inning, but he's still right at that level. So in our game, I think he still translates. 14th round for Luis Castillo. A couple years ago, we were talking second, third round.
That sounds nice and cheap.
I mean, that's I would say that's not, and I'm trying something new for anybody that's ever been in a league with me. I'm trying to not draft Mariners. I'm trying to consider players that are not wearing the Mariner uniform. The only Mariner I drafted in TGFBI was Julio, and it's because he fell to 10. So I felt like that was too far of a free fall for him for my value. So
I'm trying to find any of the comments, the places where I've seen good comments on him, but I'm not finding those right now. But I was just going to look up. I don't really, you stupid thing. I wanted to see what his spring stats were, but apparently, I can only get that if I look at certain menus.
Yeah. Chad, we know you can find
one league I'm in where you pay real money for the players. Castillo is $29, and he's on a 3-year contract, which is not disgusting in that league. Like, Ohtani is $59.50, but there are also like $80 Acuna in that league. And in another one, I'm just trying to get to it as quick as I possibly can, where it's an MLB $244 million cap. Like, we emulate that with our contracts. Castillo, where did I just see him? Oh, son of a bee sting. I lost where he was on this. I'll find him. Ben, what did you have? I want to get that salary info.
Luis Castillo, I don't know, in spring training, it's one of those things you can do where if you come in and stuff just isn't working and all of a sudden guys are picking up something, maybe there's a tell that you've got or whatever that particular day, and you're getting hammered for an inning, your team can pull you and then bring you back into the game after they've gotten through that inning. Castillo had one of those here, his last start. His first start, the thing that I heard was he only won an inning, but he basically did it on no pitches. That was the thing that was really stinking impressive. Well, then this time he went 1 2/3 innings, but he had to get pulled in order to get out of the first one that he was pitching. That's where the 2/3 came back and pitched a clean inning after that, and then he was done for the day. What I've been impressed with so far, he got hit hard that day, and it was 2 home runs hit hard, but it was 1 strike or 1 walk, 4 strikeouts over 2 2/3, 1 walk. And that 1 walk was like 4 of 6 balls that he pitched that day. It was just, he's really been pounding the zone. And that's what I've been hearing all spring on him, is how much better that location is. And for him, his stuff is such that if he's hitting his locations really well, because he's always been a good control guy, it's his command that's the issue. Is sometimes he's going to hit the zone, but sometimes he's going to hit the zone not right where Cal put the ball or put the glove. Sometimes he's hitting a little too much plate. And if he's hitting the spots, his stuff is such that he should get a lot of those weak grounders, those, short little pop flies that get him out of innings in a hurry. And that could allow him to potentially get you more of those quality starts. But again, 2 starts in spring, I'm not going to panic over one of them being bad.
Right. No,
the other league, sorry, Sam, the other league, he's getting 39 million or almost 16% of the cap for Castillo, which is not ideal. He's the 17th highest paid pitcher in this particular league. However, because we have a certain amount of money, and if you don't spend it, it's gone. Like, it doesn't matter. You pay a league fee and then you have your full budget. There are some pitchers questionable who are more, including, Shane Bieber, who I took for 45.75 million, but I just gave him a 1-year deal. What's a 1-year deal? And I had money to burn because I don't have Ohtani in this league anymore because some a-hole paid 93 million for him. And I decided not to match. And then
God, he just breaks every league. He just breaks every league.
He does, 100%. He's not the most expensive in that other league where you pay actual money for him. He's 59, and trust me, there are guys who are pissed about that because I have him in that league too, or whatever. I guess I don't have him in this one anymore. But anyway, yeah. So Castillo is expensive in this league, and he's coming off, like, this is his last year. He's coming off probably a 5-year contract where he got 39 million, and I'm sure was a top 10 paid pitcher for the bulk of that time in this league. And as happens, right, his regression is coming along with others going up in salary above him. So, but to me, certainly not a loss pitcher, just moving into more of a points league pitcher than a head-to-head 5x5 or 8x8. You want fewer categories for Castillo.
So here's something interesting on Castillo. He's now pitched 9 years in the majors, has a career ERA of 3.55, has one time in his career where his ERA over a season has been over 4. That's really freaking consistent to be 3.55 and never have a 4.
No, that's the whole point, is that he's just
it's almost always like 3.3 to 3.7. Like, that's where his range really is every single.
He really doesn't hold on to any bad things. He really just moves through everything that he faces. And so to sum it up, I think we're all in on Luis Castillo at a 14th round price for a redraft. That's just buy it. You need a pitcher. You have a chance to get somebody who's going to go 200 innings and strike 200 batters out and have a 3.5 ERA with a 1.15, 1.2 whip, and you'll be done. Good stuff. Well, this has been a wonderful night of learning. My brain is full. Again, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. We would love to have you be a regular part of what we do. Next Monday, I don't think I'm going to be here. I think you're just getting the 2 others on the screen, and we're going to be going over the Mets, the Diamondbacks, and the Reds, which also all have some interesting organizations.
They're more interesting, not holy shit good interesting, but interesting systems, all of them.
Not deep or elite, but some fun things to talk about.
The Mets could be considered in that elite group, but we'll get into that next week.
If it wasn't for all of the contracts blocking everybody financially.
Yes, but that's the whole thing.
That's the conversation for next week.
Yeah. Well, to my right, with Big Ben Chase, down below, I've got Robbie Baseball. I'm out here up in the upper left corner of your screen and the country and your hearts. I'm Sam. Peace and love.
Carlos Delgado.
Excellent choice. Too bad I got him 3 rounds ago.
You're still on the clock.
Oh, shit!
You gotta do something. We need a name.
Hideki Matsui. You just took my whole outfield.
Sorry, Charlie.
What is this?
Debbie.
What the fuck is this?
It's our fantasy baseball draft. We said no wives.
Your fantasy what?
It's our draft. fantasy baseball. I told you all about this. Got Matsui.